Welcome back to the EJ Ward Field View training series. In this video, we're going to go over how to add and change pump records. To start out, we need to go to the Site Management folder on the left-hand side. So we need to click on the Site Management folder, and then we need to click on the Pumps page. From here, all we need to do is click on the Add Record button if we're adding a brand new pump to the site. So then a blank pump record will come up, and we just need to fill out the information. So the first thing that we have is the terminal. I'm going to go ahead and put this on our test terminal here. And then it's automatically going to come up with the next pump in line. So I already have pumps 1 through 5 taken. This is going to be on 6. And if you want to change this to a different pump number, you're more than welcome to. But we're going to go ahead and keep this one at 6 because that's going to be the pump number for this guy. Then we can go to the pump code. And with the pump code, it's whatever you want to put on there. So I'm going to put this one as P6 UNL because it's going to be an unleaded pump. Then we have our site pump code. This is just a unique code that we need for the site, for the pump that it is. So I'm just going to put test 6. And that does need to be unique per site. Then we have our online checkbox and our active checkbox. We want to make sure both of these are checked if we want to use it and report on it inside of the system. And then below the date deactivated, we have a type. So if you're going to drop this down, we have a car wash, a CNG, an electric, a fuel, a gate opener, or propane. So most of the time when you're adding a pump, it's going to be a fuel, unless you're using our car wash system or it's a CNG pipeline or electric charger. We also have gate openers, and then propane is another pipeline type. So we're just going to select fuel because it's just going to have regular unleaded gas. And then below that, we go to the configuration portion. So the configuration portion, we have our tank. So we're going to go ahead and select our tank, which is going to be on a tank we added in a previous video here on tank number 5. And then we have an enable timeout and an interpulse timeout. This is the same as it is in the terminals page. What these two timeouts are is the enable timeout is how much time they have in seconds to start fueling after it says the pump is ready to begin fueling on the terminal. The interpulse timeout is, let's say they stopped fueling, it's how much time they have in seconds to start fueling again before it will time out. And when it times out, it will shut the transaction off, so they'll have to go through the whole process to start a new transaction. Our decay timeout, we keep at 5. Our pulse rate, this is something that you're going to have to get from the installer that installed the terminal itself as well as the pulsar. So the way we track fuel is with a device that pulses every so often. And for instance, most of ours are at a pulse rate of 10, so every 10 pulses is a gallon. And when we have that, their pulsars can be all different rates. They can be 100, 1,000. It really depends on the pulsar, but most of the ones that we use is every 10 pulses is a unit, essentially. So we need to set that correctly. Otherwise, the gallon amounts that are coming through or the amount of fuel that's coming through is going to be different. We have the price. So this is going to be the price per unit, whether it's gallons, liters, or gas gallon equivalent. You want to put your price in. So this is going to be the price from here on out, going from this point forward. Now, the prices we know change all the time, and there are multiple ways to change the pricing, and we'll be going over that in another video. So I'm going to keep this one at 0. Then we have our zero limit. The zero limit is how many 0-gallon transactions can be done in a row before it shuts the pump off automatically. This is typically a fail-safe, so in case if you have a pulsar issue, it's not going to let a ton of people fuel with 0-gallon transactions and have tons of fuel going out, but it's not tracking it inside of the system. We recommend keeping this at 5 or lower. I wouldn't go down to 1. I would probably be doing it anywhere between 2 and 5. Below that, we have a totalizer reading. So that's basically your odometer for the pump, essentially, how much fuel has gone through this pump. So we can keep this at 0, and you can always change that later or put in a totalizer reading, which we'll go through in another video. And then at the bottom, it's an automatically generated number that shows how much fuel has pumped since the last totalizer reading. In the advanced section on the right-hand side, we have ignore zero fuelings. This is something that we typically don't want checked unless it's a truck terminal or a terminal that does not have a pulsar and you're not tracking anything from it, then we can ignore those 0-gallon fuelings. But what's going to happen with that is you're not going to even see those 0 gallon fuelings in the system. So it's just not going to send them in. It's going to act like they never happened. Shared pulsar, we don't typically use too much, but it's basically a pulsar shared between multiple pumps. We have our recycle hook. This is typically something we're going to have if you don't have a physical or an electronic hook switch on your pump. Most of the time this is going to be on like a truck terminal, something like that. We would have recycle hook, so it's going to go off of nothing but the timeouts that we have here on the left hand side, rather than actually having to put a hook on and off. Keypad fuelings, we have checked if you're using the keypad to fuel with this pump. So if you have to put in the information in the keypad with this pump, we're going to want to have this checked. And then we have our ignore off hook and ignore on hook. And this is just a specialized, and typically we aren't going to have this checked unless it's a certain special situation, which an EJ Ward support technician or the installer or the technician themselves are going to let you know if we need to have these checked. Once we have all that information put in, we're just going to go ahead and click on Save. After that record's saved successfully, if we ever want to change something, let's say we want to take the pump offline because there's some construction going on at that site, or there's something that we don't want people to fuel at, we can go ahead and close out of this, and we're going to go and look at the pump number. So it's going to be pump number 6 here. And then I can't really tell which one it is. So one thing that we can do is go ahead and drop down the columns, hit choose columns, and then we can put a site name to it so we know what site it is, or you can even put the terminal number. I'm going to put the site name because I know it's going to be the only one I have on this site. So here we have the tank number 5, our test department, and it's pump number 6. You want to make sure to click on the pump number itself and not the site name or the tank, because it will take it to those respective records. Once I click on this, I can turn that pump offline by just unchecking the online checkbox, and then I can hit save. One thing you also notice is after we saved it is there's pump chaining on the bottom here. So what pump chaining is I can turn on multiple pumps when one pump comes on. So for instance, I have this guy here. If anybody turned on pump 6, let's say it's I have window washer fluid in one of the pumps, and that's pump 3. So if I check pump 3, when pump 6 comes on, pump 3 will automatically be able to use as well. Typically, this is just going to be unchecked, and you're only going to have one of the pumps checked, and that's just fine. So we're going to go ahead and hit save here. And now our record's changed, so we can see that our pump is offline if we go back into that record again. And we can go ahead and turn it back online because I want people to be able to use this pump inside of our system. So this concludes the video on how to add and change pump records. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.